This podcast is part of the Game and Entertainment Network. Visit tgenetwork.net to find the latest episodes from all our shows.
It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Agronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belgast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again, time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 170. Tonight I'm joined by Ashgar.
Hello.
Grace.
Hello.
Kodra.
Howdy.
Tam.
Hello.
And Thalen.
Hi there.
And this week we are recording the August Game of the Month show, and that was Full Throttle. And Thalen, this was your pick, so want to give us a summary of why you picked it?
Yeah, so Full Throttle, I don't think we haven't done much in the way of adventure games. Like, we've done some games that sort of got over into that area. And I won't try to claim that Full Throttle is the best adventure game of all time, because, you know, Grim Fandango is a game that exists. As is Sam and Max Hit the Road. And probably one of those is the best of all time. But Full Throttle was, I thought, a really interesting game that LucasArts made back in the day that did some stuff that was new and different and interesting for graphical adventures at the time. And I hoped that everybody would enjoy it.
And it also helps that it's been remastered and runs significantly better on lots and lots of different systems.
Yeah, there's that too. This is a game that, you know, has been remastered just recently, and so is available on Steam and GOG and other places. And was, in fact, I think, discounted twice over the course of the past month. So, yeah.
So, out of curiosity, what platforms did everyone play on?
PC.
PC.
iOS here.
I played on Steam, PC.
Yeah,
I also
PC
made a
as
mistake,
well.
but we'll get to that later.
Okay, so the next question is, did you play with mouse and keyboard, or did you play with a controller?
I played with mouse and keyboard.
Yeah.
Same.
Mouse and keyboard.
Yeah.
Wait, this game supported a controller?
Yes, it did.
What?
Why?
There are controller, like, if you go into options, into the remastered version, there are settings for controllers.
I mean, I kind of expected them to do that, since they did that for Grim Fandango as well. Although in that case, you know, it had the tank controls that so many people hated. So there was an actual kind of need for additional controller support. Here it just seemed unnecessary.
I mean, I'm not the hugest fan of the controls and the action sequences, but, like, I muddled through it just like I muddled through it back in the day.
Yeah, because, you know, mostly it's just standard, you know, mouse click around adventure game, but there are the parts where you have to actually engage in combat with other bikers that the controls were not great back in the day, and I really hoped that maybe they might have improved them, and no.
No, they didn't.
Those are, I found those not pleasant.
It's cool though. They let you
touchscreen.
cheat.
That's true. So how far did everyone make it? Did everyone finish the game?
I did.
Yep.
Yeah.
I did. I was shocked at how short a game it was. Like, I did not remember that back in the day.
Yeah, like I remembered it not being massive, but I completed it in like just under 4 hours, which admittedly I knew the answer, you know, the solutions to the puzzles, so.
Yeah, I was surprised at how many puzzles I remembered. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this.
I did not finish. I got a little frustrated in Old Mine Road and did not have as much time this week as I wanted to.
Yeah, I did not finish either.
Oh.
If I had to do the action sequences without cheating, I probably would not have finished, frankly.
Okay. So, like, I don't even know how you cheat the action sequences. How do you cheat them?
I looked it up, and I forget exactly what the key combo is, but basically, like, you pull up next to a guy on your bike, and you press, I forget what it is, like shift space or something, and it tab something, and it just automatically finishes, like, you get your stuff, and the guy falls down, like, done.
Oh, man. Yeah, no. Like, I had to remember the rock, paper, scissors combination of what I needed to get, like, each weapon.
Well, like, I went through it, like, I mean, I didn't immediately give up, but, like, I spent a bunch of time being really frustrated, and then I was like, screw this, there has to be, like, someone on the internet will tell me how to do this properly, because
I was
I'm
very
gonna throw
frustrated
something.
trying to do those on a touchscreen.
It's
So-
that is super. Oh yeah, that sounds awful. It's
Yeah.
super frustrating, and it annoys me because the sequence there is pick up fertilizer, run until you find the chainsaw person, get the chainsaw, kill everything, hit the dude with the board. That's the end.
Pretty much.
And,
Hit the dude with the board at the right time.
Yes.
yeah,
when
hit
he
the dude
pokes
with
his
the
head
board
up.
when he gets his pokes his head up, and get the chain and use that to get the
The
booster.
solid recoil
Yeah.
booster.
I put in a lot of time on this game, and I feel like the puzzles that stalled me were not, like, the things that stalled me were not actually, like, puzzles. They were
Yeah.
stupid things.
Interface things.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Happen.
so
I
this is
agree.
the problem with this era of adventure game is there's like not a lot of obvious tells that you should be looking in a specific area and like why you would even want the thing that you picked up.
It's
Yeah,
worse
you have-
when you can't even mouse over the screen and see where your interactions are.
Ooh.
Oh, God,
yeah, that's
Yeah.
oh.
You made a
Like,
terrible
I made
mistake.
an awful decision.
So do you just like chain click everything on screen?
You
Well-
can sort of wave your finger around, and if you hold two fingers on the screen, it will show you items. But what it doesn't show you is transitions, which is what held me up for a while.
Yeah, because the transitions aren't necessarily obvious.
I had mouse and keyboard, and there was a transition that held me up for a very long time.
Well, there was some stuff that I remembered that I needed to do, but I couldn't remember how to do it. Like, I remembered in the junkyard sequence that I had to somehow get up into the cab of the crane, and I couldn't remember where the hot point is for the cab of the crane.
Yeah, I had to hunt around for a while to find that one again too, because it's not on screen when you first enter the junkyard. You have to go far enough right without going into the area with the cars, and then the camera will pan over.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of cases where it was like, I need to go into the next area, and then I need to come back, and then now I can see the hot point. Because like there was some stuff around the Derby that had some stuff like that where I couldn't see the hot point at first, and I had to either walk all the way over there or go into something and come back out, and then I could see the hot point. I mean, all in all, it felt like it kind of aged fairly well to me, but maybe that's just a case of as I went, I kept remembering more and more from my earlier plays.
What I
Like-
remember about it, like these games, I played a lot of point and click adventure games growing up, and they teach you to be perceptive and think about look at everything that's on the screen and say, is this a thing I can interact with? And like that was always the point of the eye icon. Like if you wanted to look at something, that was always what that was for, was look at a thing just before you decide if you want to interact with it. Does that look like a thing you want to interact with? Maybe it is. And I always remember like all of those old skills are still around. So like, and it also helps I remember a lot of that game.
Yeah.
They put some funny achievements in there, one of which I got because I forgot the sequence of something.
I got one of those too, yeah. Like, I knew I had to do something at this one point, but I didn't know what I had to use. So I started randomly using stuff in my inventory.
Oh,
Was it the one for shoving a bunny into the truck
Yes.
fan? Yeah.
Yes.
Because
I remember,
that's how
like,
I got that one too. I was like, I know I've got to get his stick away from him, but I can't remember how to do that. So I just started doing shit. And I don't think I'd ever tried shoving a bunny into the truck fan before.
Well, and I know the thing that I had totally forgot the sequence of events was like the minefield and the bunnies.
Oh my God, the minefield.
Because like I remembered like I had to get all the bunnies, but I forgot that I had to put them down and then pick them all back up and then release them one by one.
I absolutely remembered that because that one took me quite a while to figure out the first time
that
around.
at all. I'm like, okay, I got my bunnies. I'm good now. No, I'm not. I gotta go get more bunnies.
I had to go get a lot of bunnies.
bunnies, and lots of them.
I forgot. I also forgot how much I like Marine in that game.
Maureen is fantastic.
Marine is so awesome.
And she is part of the reason that I chose this game, was because I was pretty sure that I remembered her awesomeness accurately. And in fact, it was even better than I remembered, because I don't think I noticed back when I played this, when I was a teenager. At no point in this game does Maureen require rescuing.
I mean,
you help her with things, but she's never captured and you have to free her.
no, quite the opposite, in fact.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah, she's a badass, and
she's
I love
awesome.
her.
I'm actually relatively convinced that without Ben, she would have been pretty much just fine. Like,
Yeah, she would have figured out a way to get to handle all this either way.
yeah, like you're helping her out not because she needs help, but because she's like, yeah, sure, I suppose you can help out. I've got this though. Like, don't you worry about that.
At every step of the way, though, she helps you way more than you ever actually help her.
Yes. I feel like, and I suspect that this might actually have been deliberate, I feel like this game very much channels Mad Max, in that Ben is a catalyst and he helps with things, but he's not the one that benefits from it, and honestly, like,
He's not really the main character.
he's not the main character. Yeah.
I mean,
And I
to be
think
truthful, like,
that might be. I think
this
that might
game
be.
does a whole hero's journey arc, but it's not about you.
Yeah, it's not Ben's. Ben is the same person at the end of the game that he was at the beginning. Like, he hasn't changed.
Yeah, Marine, Xanthia from Kyrandia, and why can't I remember her name? Rosella from King's Quest
4
were like formative characters for me growing up because they were the smart ones.
As opposed to Ben, who is not necessarily the smart one.
No.
Nope. Kick it.
Yep. One of the things that I clearly remember related to this game is an issue of LucasArts' little newsletter that they published this, I think, quarterly and packed it in with their games. And so it was the issue that came out, when Full Throttle had been announced and was being worked on, was on the way. And they talk about, sort of the design of Full Throttle and how they're doing the puzzle and all this stuff. And they compare Ben to Bernard from Day of the Tentacle. They're like, if these two characters were both in the same situation, they are presented with a locked door and they have a ham sandwich. Bernard would take the sandwich apart, grease the floor with the mayonnaise, slide the bread underneath the door, poke the key out of the lock on the other side of the door with the toothpick, and then pull the bread back to get the key and unlock the door. Ben would eat the sandwich and kick the door down.
It's accurate.
Really,
it's one of my favorite sort of puzzles in the game. Like, you roll up to dude's trailer, and he's like, "No, you can't come in. F off." And like, you could talk to him, you could do all sorts of things, you could try to bribe him, or you could just kick the door down.
Yeah, no.
So that one actually took me a while because I kicked the door down before I knocked on it.
Right.
So I went and looted his house and whatever. Now I still had to figure out how to get the blowtorch.
Yeah, you need to get him to come upstairs first.
So you need to knock on the door, get him to come upstairs, and then kick the door in.
I'd never done that.
So does he just never come up?
He'll come up if you knock on the door, but if you just kick it down, he doesn't come up. He can't hear you.
Right.
He's
And
the
you
blowtorch.
can't. And there's no hot point for
listening
the
to music.
Right. And there's no hot point for the elevator either at that point.
Well, yeah, he's got his shelf in the way.
Yep.
Yeah, you can look at the shelf, but you can't do anything with it.
Yeah, there were a couple of puzzles that kind of caught me because it was like the one that I'm thinking of is when you're trying to steal the bunny, like you have to get the guy to turn around by asking about the shirts behind him, and then you can steal a bunny.
Mm-hmm.
And that took me a while.
I remember that taking me a lot.
Cotton.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that taking a long time the first time I played the game, but like that was one of the sticking points that I remember this time. Was like I couldn't figure out how to get the guy to turn around long enough that I could get a bunny.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing, did this game have like the highlighting system in the original?
No.
Yeah.
That was not a thing yet.
So there were a couple of fun things with that where one of the things I needed to do in Melonweed is like lock the door to the one place.
To the junkyard. Yep.
And the latch wasn't highlighting for me.
Mm-hmm.
Just part of the
'cause it's
door,
this
so it's
teeny
all
tiny
part of the
little
same
latch.
highlight.
Yeah.
That one also took me a bit.
Well, I remember that one taking me quite a while the first time around because the latch is this teeny tiny part. Is like I looked at the door, so I didn't realize that the latch was a separate thing to look at. I also don't think I picked up the lock when I unlocked the.
That's what
fuel
happened to
station
me this
the first
time.
time.
Yeah, I had to go back and get it because I'm like, oh crap, I need a lock for this.
I had the lock and tried to use the lock on the chain and wondered why it didn't work.
The one that took me forever growing up, and I remembered how to do it. I remembered how to do it, but the one that took me forever growing up was the gas can, filling up the gas can.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was also a problem for me.
Because if you didn't pick it up, like in that first scene, you don't have it in your inventory.
Well, for
But
me,
also-
it was
Not just that, the police are coming. What do you do?
And the obvious thing is run, but it's a puzzle where you have to do a thing that's not interacting using an object. You just have to walk behind a thing.
Yeah, just walk over into the shadows.
I did that on the first try and was kind of amazed that it actually worked.
I did that as well because the shadows were interactable, and I had seen that.
Oh.
Yeah. You could look at them and be like, oh, it's really dark over there. He says.
The one that stumped me was actually getting the gas out of the police vehicle because that I could not tell where the gas can on that thing was.
Finding the cap. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love the vehicles in Full Throttle. Just like basically all of them.
Yeah.
It's a very weird mix.
Is Full Throttle like a weird post-apoc game? Like
That's kind of what you get the impression.
It never ever even crossed my mind when I was growing up that like the vehicles in this game are really weird and make no sense.
I mean,
Like it's certainly
Cooley Motors is the only one still making motorcycles.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else has moved on to hover things and minivans.
minivans. Yeah, so it's not real clear if like is it just that we're in like back ass of nowhere in rural far out west where there just isn't anything and it's just like this, or is it actually post-apoc? It's
I really
want
to know. Yeah, I really want to know more about like this world that Full Throttle is set in. Like, why do tractor trailers come stock with machine guns? What is up with that?
Road bandits.
Like, because it's not just the one that that Ripburger hits you with at the end. It's the other guys too. Like that.
Emmett.
I mean, he was clearly concerned about being attacked, not incorrectly.
Right? Yeah. That guy was kind of a dick anyway, so.
Yeah, I wasn't sad for him. I was sad for the bridge, not for him.
Okay, so Emmett, the truck driver, was apparently Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he was.
I did
he
not
was the truck
remember
driver and Ripburger.
Yeah,
and
he
I think that was it.
Ripburger. I was about to say.
Yeah, Ripburger should have been obvious because it's basically the Joker voice, but a little less crazy.
Right. Yeah. Like so that was obvious, but like Emmett was not as obvious to me.
I love the character design of Ripburger. He's so like a melted rectangle. I mean, he's like the perfect corporate villain. Yeah. He has like no eyes.
Not many of the characters in this game have eyes.
Yeah, they mostly keep them kind of slitted.
Yeah.
Like
when someone opens their eyes wide, you know something's about to go down.
I didn't know he also did Todd, the guy who you kicked the door in the face of.
Oh, yeah, I missed that one.
Did anybody spend any time listening to the music in this game?
Yeah, that song is amazing.
There's so many.
Todd's
I love
trailer.
all the music in this game.
I love all the music in this game. I mean, the Todd's trailer music is hilarious. There's other music later that's hilarious. The intro music is one of my favorites.
Like, this game made me actively go look for the Gone Jackals.
Yeah.
Find what I could of theirs.
Well, it was actually listening to the music was what made me think, like, is this a post-apoc game? Like, this is
a lot of the songs are talking about stuff like that.
Yeah. Like, a bunch of the songs are, like, one of them is a, hey, maybe because the apocalypse happened and everyone's dead, there's fewer people who like this person might like instead of me. And like, wow, wait, what?
And sadly, there will probably never be a sequel at this point. They planned it a couple of times, but it never happened either time, and then Roy Conrad passed away, and like, you can't recast Ben. I think that would be a bad idea.
Which is kind of sad because, like, with the resurgence of the Telltale style of adventure game, I think it would work really well with Full Throttle.
Like, I feel like a sequel that was another adventure of Ben with absolutely no other relation to the first game, could have been interesting. Yeah, don't bring the other characters back.
Well, that was the thing I was like, this is such a perfectly complete, encapsulated story that I can't imagine a sequel that wouldn't just feel wrong.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm thinking the Mad Max type of thing, where each Mad Max movie is completely unrelated to the others apart from having Max. So same deal. It would have been like Ben dealing with other stuff. And I kind of think that that's what they were looking at doing. Like, Ben and the Polecats would have been in it, but like Maureen and the rest wouldn't have been back.
See, I think you could do this game in the same setting, or even possibly with Maureen, but not with Ben.
That would be the other option.
Well, or another option would be like Polecats when Father Torque was leading them, and Ben's just a young biker.
That could be interesting. I really liked Father Torque.
I like Father Torque.
His 2 whole appearances in the entire game.
What are you doing here? I was tired and bored, so I decided to pick some fights. What? Like, old guy on a motorcycle wants to go pick some fights. All right.
It makes total sense.
Well, I'd avoid him, quite frankly.
Yep. Like, a dude who retired from leading one of these motorcycle gangs, that guy's got to be a badass.
I kind of love that conversation with him, too. Hey, what should I do? I don't know. You figure it out. I don't run them. I don't run a biker gang anymore.
I made you leader. Anymore. That means it's your problem. Figure stuff out yourself. Yeah, just like all the little touches like that, like, Father Torque and Maureen's uncle's mink farming plantation, weasel plantation.
Like, what?
Oh my god, the conversation about getting mink meat for the cafeterias.
For the school lunch program, yeah.
I did notice that if you keep examining the minks in the rafters there, he goes on for quite some time.
Yes.
Like, I feel like there's all sorts of backstory to this game that they just kind of, they let you see it, but they don't go into deep explanations. And I really like that. Like, cavefish. What the hell is up with the cavefish?
Who knows?
What?
It's just whatever.
They're a weird religious cult that, like, rides bikes and stole a stunt driver's ramp and worship it for reasons. Okay.
Whatever, man. It's unimportant. I mean, you're seeing everything through the lens of Ben, and Ben is like, look, these are just things. I don't care.
These are unimportant details.
Just whatever. They ride weird bikes.
Let me take this ramp and pop these reflective dots off of the road.
I do think the cavefish bikes are awesome, though. I mean, a terrible idea.
Yeah.
But really awesome looking.
Yeah, like, everybody else rides Corleys, and the cavefish ride whatever those are.
Who knows?
I'm guessing that's what passes as a modern bike.
I suppose so.
No idea. I really like the very obvious different biker gangs you run into. Like, it's really clear what kind of bikers you're dealing with at any given time. And even, like, the Polecats have different looking... I mean, obviously, Ben's bike, which is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. I love Ben's ludicrous bike.
Yes.
It's pretty great.
It's nice when you can actually use it. It's not broken down for one reason or another.
Yeah. But it's like, those pipes aren't even all pointed in the same direction. What?
Details.
Yeah. These are unimportant
Whatever.
details.
It looks cool.
Yeah, they're there to look awesome. That's all.
I loved all the little LucasArts Easter eggs that were all over the game.
Yeah, they
possibly, again, because I missed this entire era of adventure games, I didn't really notice any of those.
Oh, like, so the biker or the trucker guy for example, had like all these Star Wars tattoos, like the Imperial symbol on him. Like during the Demolition Derby, there's a Max Skull and Bones.
Yeah. Like there's always got to be like a Sam and Max skeleton or something somewhere.
Yeah, there's just like all these weird little details that are like either Star Wars references or something else from LucasArts. I want to say there was a tentacle somewhere too that I saw.
Yeah. There's probably a Monkey Island reference somewhere that I didn't notice.
It's in Marine's bedroom.
The room with like the cavefish, ramp area, like the dots on the walls kind of reminded me of Loom as well. The way they lit up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What the cavefish are doing with a giant like carved cult ruin, like I have no idea. And you never go in there. I also love the Vulture's base.
Yes. And there's a giant C-130 that they're working to get fixed to take to rallies. Because why not?
It makes sense. I mean, come on. And then we proceed to ruin it.
Well, it's for a good cause. I'm sure Maureen can buy him a new one. She's super wealthy now.
Yeah, but where's the fun in that? Like, where's the fun in just actually having a C-130? Like, they weren't going to fly it around anywhere.
I don't know. I bet they could make their own fun with it.
Probably. Yeah. I love the Vulture. Like I like almost every character in this game. Like the whole Vulture gang when you get to meet them are also awesome.
So when do you meet them?
Almost immediately following the Old Mine Road.
Yeah. Like once you've gotten to Corley Motors, the Vulture's headquarters is just up the road from Corley Motors, behind a minefield.
Yeah. You just have to figure out a way past the minefield.
Yeah, I've got past the
AKA
minefield.
Bunnies.
Yeah.
So many bunnies.
That was another weird solution. Not even just because it was bunnies, because that kind of logically makes sense, but the fact that, like, a single package of bunnies won't do it was weird.
A single package of bunnies will do it.
Yeah, you just have to pick all the bunnies back up. And use them one at a time so they don't get all blown up all together.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, even then, it only takes like 4 bunnies, I think. 5 bunnies, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I had 4 or 5 left over.
I had plenty of stuff in the engine.
Stuff in the truck. And another Easter egg. Apart from Susie and Mo, all the other Vultures are named after Maniac Mansion characters.
Yeah.
Because they are Razor, Sid, and Wendy.
This was one of the last Scum games, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, remember that time you almost killed me? Yeah, good times. Marine is unfazed by anything.
Yeah. She's like, yeah, that happened. Let's move on. We're all good. But yeah, because Grim Fandango was a new engine.
Yeah.
Designed specifically for it. So yeah, I think Full Throttle may have been the very last one.
It's also sort of their first attempts at, like, action, which I don't think worked very well.
Yeah.
Especially the Derby.
Yeah.
The Derby was frustrating as hell.
Yeah. The Derby, and, like, even knowing exactly what to do with the Derby, it's still annoying.
Yeah.
Same with, and of course, Old Mine Road, which we've already talked about, which was incredibly frustrating. But that said, like, the characters in the story of this are fantastic.
Yeah.
I kind of want a Telltale, like, I don't know if, because Double Fine still exists, and I still think they have the rights now.
Yeah.
So it would probably not be Double Fine unless they license them.
For what?
For another game.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure at this point Double Fine has, like, the rights to all the old LucasArts adventure games.
They've definitely made a show of getting the rights to basically everything that they made over time.
Or at least,
It took them a while to get Constant Quest back.
They got the rights to remaster them, so I don't know if they actually have full rights or just that.
I'm not sure.
I mean, the only thing that they probably don't have the license to from the adventure era is maybe the Indiana Jones games.
Yeah.
Or I guess there's just the one game, wasn't there?
There were 2. There was Last Crusade game, and then there was Secret of Atlantis.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Secret of Atlantis is the one I played. I don't think I ever played The Last Crusade.
It was pretty neat. It was one of their very early ones, and it had a thing where you very early on in the game you had to choose whether you wanted to proceed through the game via fists, wits, or teamwork. And the entire rest of the game, like all the puzzles were like different depending on which of those you went with. Fists was a bad solution because it meant that you had lots and lots of fight sequences with the fight system that was not great. Again, action sequences, not what they're best at. Another thing I noticed about this game that I don't think I noticed the first time around is, boy, do a lot of people die in this game.
Oh, yeah.
Like, mostly people who deserve it, but there is a lot of death. And they're not shy about it either.
Yeah, it's a very violent game.
So one of the things I'm wondering about is what happens if you don't kill Rip Burger?
You don't have a choice?
You fail.
Yeah, like once he's hanging there, I don't know if you're still on a timer, but like I don't think you can do anything other than kill him.
Oh, it looked like I could go back inside the cab.
I mean,
Like-
you can try, but he shoots at you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I guess I never tried.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If you try to head out, once you end up having to like climb down a ladder, and at that point he shoots at you.
I fired the gun and killed a bird randomly and got an
You
achievement.
get an achievement for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Loom reference.
I mean, so there's like the first time you really get violent with somebody is with the bartender, where you grab him by the nose ring and slam him on the bar.
Yep,
He deserved it.
he really did. Yeah, and I mean, for the rest of the game, most of the puzzles are solved through either violence or crime.
I mean, you are part of a biker gang. Like the game
Get bent.
Yeah, like the game does not make any bones about the fact that Ben is like a biker gang leader.
Man, okay, so I'm just realizing, like, there's a loose end that never gets dealt with. The reporter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you never see her again.
No!
I guess she's
like,
still just hanging out in that dumpster.
You're supposed to go get, like,
Her editor.
her film, and you don't. You now use it as a major plot point to...
I mean, Ben kind of alludes to that when he takes her credentials and like, great, this is all I need. I'm going to leave you behind now.
Yep.
Like,
It's
there's
like-
no way you're getting what you want.
Well, she should have given me a ride.
I love that whole asking her for a ride sequence.
I hitched.
This is hard for me.
This is hard for me. Can I have a ride in your car? Ben being awkward is my favorite. All of my favorite sequences in that game.
That's another thing that I saw as like a bit of an interview talking with Tim Schafer and him about doing the voice casting for Ben, and like how like basically everybody who tried out for Ben was being really angry and shouty and everything because his biker leader, rawr. And then Roy comes in and is just cool and calm and it's perfect. And
Yeah,
and
I wouldn't mess with Ben.
yeah, like he's far more intimidating than some yelly, shouty guy would be.
Yeah. But like because he's so like calm and serious, there's some it makes for some really funny moments when he's like stuffing the bunny into his jacket surreptitiously.
Well, it also makes those couple of moments where you see him actually get angry, like mean something. Like, when Emmett steals the fuel line from your bike, then it's just like he's dead.
Yeah. And he doesn't get shouty then either. You're just like, oh.
It's like, yeah.
I'm a little sad Malcolm Corley doesn't get more screen time because he's really funny.
He is pretty great.
And that's the thing. That's another thing. Like, this was one of the earlier voice acted games, as I recall. Like,
Yeah, I mean, as far as full voice acting, yeah, this was because this came out in 94, 93.
Yeah, something like that. And at that point, like, even full
95.
music score
95, yeah.
was, like, with actual, like, songs was
Yeah.
kind of rare. Because, you'd have environmental loops that didn't take up a lot of space, but, full CD tracks. This was still the era of, making a big deal about it being on a CD-ROM.
Yeah, well, and this was one of their first games that was only available on CD-ROM. Because, there was that period for a little while where you had the version that was on the disc that didn't have voice. And then the version that was on CD that did have, full voice acting. Because that's what they did with Day of the Tentacle and with Sam and Max, was they had the two versions.
Well, but the CD version, I think, didn't it come out significantly after the disc version?
I think they were released simultaneously.
Really?
It's just that the floppy disk version was, more common because not everybody had CD-ROM yet.
I just remember, I played it off of, there was a big bundle you could buy that had, Sam and Max and Day of the Tentacle and, a bunch of those CD-ROM
the
games
LucasArts treasuries,
Yeah.
That was how I first played a lot of those games.
Yeah.
I remember playing it pretty much right when it came out. I was real excited because I got it for my birthday and opened it up and was like, wait, what is this disc? I don't know how to put it in the computer. Because I didn't have a CD-ROM drive in my computer.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And
hopefully the story ends with you getting a CD-ROM drive.
Well, and my dad, who'd picked up who'd gotten it for me and was really, happy that I was excited, was like, oh, here, I'm not using the one in my computer, and put his CD-ROM drive in my computer.
Nice.
And then, I remember then beating the game and being like, hey, Dad, you can have your CD-ROM drive back. He's like, no, it's okay. Because he'd used it as a handy excuse to buy himself a new one.
Oh, there you go. But so this one came out, at about the earliest that it was reasonable to assume that people had CD-ROMs in their computers. Because there was kind of a crossover period for about 2 years where you saw games coming out on both. I remember I got King's Quest 6, and I got it on floppy disk, and it was on 8 floppy disks, I think.
Yep.
And that was without voice acting.
For a little while, they were really expensive.
Yeah.
The games were really expensive because you'd open it up and it would have both CD-ROM and discs in it.
Mm-hmm.
Heimdall was one of those games that I remember from that era, and I had it on floppy, and it was a lot of floppies, and I want to say, I never got to beat it because the next to the last disc was corrupt.
Oh, it's awful.
The first game I had to get a CD-ROM for and had to upgrade my computer for was Star Wars Monopoly. I was very excited about that.
I think Myst was probably the first big CD-ROM game that I played.
That's the first one that I really remember. I don't remember having to upgrade a computer. I remember, beg, borrow, and stealing to try to, get the best possible computer that I could before I went off to college. And that was, as top of the line as it was reasonable for me to ever dream of. And so I was lucky enough to not have to worry about that for a while, but man, Myst was definitely a thing.
Myst and The Seventh Guest are those two games that made everybody be like, oh, CD-ROM, I gotta have a CD-ROM.
So my very first computer was a laptop, which was briefcase size with a black and white screen. But the next computer I had a CD-ROM drive, so I don't ever remember that being anything terribly special.
Well, a lot of my early gaming was on our family's 386, and it did not have a CD-ROM.
That was also a 486. So
when I finally got a computer, it was a Pentium 90, I think, and that was when I went off to college. And I think I used graduation money to get that computer. And it had a CD-ROM, so from that point on, I had access to a CD-ROM.
Yeah, I mean, that was basically my story. It was my parents were going to give me a computer for my graduation present, and I was like, wait, let me also take every scrap of money I have laying around and anyone has given me for graduation present to help put towards this, because I'm pretty sure the one that you want to get me is not the one that's going to last me through 4 years of college.
Yeah.
I mean, I had that experience.
I remember about halfway through college, I ordered one of those bare bones computers from the back of Computer Shopper and used it to upgrade my machine.
I did that too.
I actually can't remember exactly when I got a CD-ROM. I know I got one and put it into the computer that I already had. and it must have been sometime after 93 and before 95. But like, I don't remember any more specific than that. And I'm sure it was because of a specific game that needed CD-ROM. Like, it might have been for Full Throttle. It's entirely possible.
The thing I remember doing the most was like playing probably Dark Forces was the first big game that I really wanted to play that was like CD-ROM only.
Was it? I could swear I had it on disc.
Maybe not. Maybe it existed on disc too, but I thought it was CD-ROM only. I do know at that point I had a CD-ROM system.
It might have been CD only because it was 95. By then they had mostly switched over.
We have veered so far off course.
Whatever.
So all in all, like, I really enjoyed playing it again, and there were lots of details that I remembered, but lots of other details that I had forgotten over the years.
Yeah, there were a couple of puzzles that I had to think about for a bit. It's like I remembered basically what I needed to do, but I couldn't remember the specifics.
This is one that I never played, but I had enough of like the burnt in training from playing these types of games over the years that like I was prepared.
When in doubt, use everything on everything.
Yes, when in doubt, use everything on everything.
I was not prepared. It was very frustrating. I eventually looked up a guide and helped get me through it. But a lot of the problems I had were less I couldn't solve the puzzles and more like there was a UI element I was missing that I needed to solve the puzzle.
I do feel like most of my problems were interface related. Like, just this game released on iOS, but maybe don't play it there.
Yeah, probably stick with PC.
I mean, it also exists for like lots of console platforms, I think, too. And I don't know how this would be to play with a controller, but I kind of think that the quote-unquote action sequences might be better with a controller.
Possibly. They couldn't be much worse.
Exactly.
I also chose this game because I've kind of been wanting to do a graphical adventure game for a while, and mostly that would mean either picking a LucasArts game or a Sierra game, and I wasn't feeling mean enough to pick a Sierra game.
Yeah. I love Sierra games, but
I love Sierra games too.
Nobody I feel like nobody else has played these. And maybe I'm wrong, but like, did nobody else play Carandia?
Yes.
Okay.
I played the first and second ones. I never did play the third one.
No,
okay.
I never played them.
Because like they were some of my I think they were my favorites of the I think Westwood were my overall favorites of the Sierra, LucasArts, Westwood adventure games.
I feel like Westwood's games were kind of in between the two. And I feel like you couldn't completely screw yourself over in a Westwood game.
Yeah. The
way you could in a Sierra game.
Yeah, I mean,
but they were still fiddlier than LucasArts games tended to be.
I was going to say, I also played a lot of the Hugo's House of Horrors games, which is a completely different thing. But that's also, like, that's what I associated with those, like, graphical adventure games, even though it was text-based.
Like, I still might make you all play Conquest of the Longbow at some point. Because that is arguably the best adventure game Sierra ever made.
In 1995, I was still playing educational games.
There's a lot of later adventure games that I did not play because by 92, 93, somewhere along in there, I had started making the transition to almost exclusively playing first-person shooters.
So you missed the best adventure games.
Like, I played Full Throttle, but like, there's a lot of the late era games that I didn't play.
Grim Fandango is the best graphical adventure game ever made. I will fight you.
No, I've played Grim Fandango.
Okay,
but I played Grim Fandango after its prime.
I'm trying to decide if I want to fight you with The Longest Journey.
Okay, I haven't played The Longest Journey. It could theoretically be better. It would have to be pretty damn good.
It is pretty damn good.
I mean,
the two of them are even for me.
I was gonna say I've played now The Longest Journey and Dreamfall, and I actually think I like Dreamfall more.
I've gotten the impression though that The Longest Journey has some cat mustache type puzzles.
It does.
Yes.
So
it does have that.
What was that? Adventure games, Guild Adventure Games?
Yes. I mean, adventure games killed adventure games the way MMOs are killing MMOs.
Yeah, like I really feel like you can look at the trajectory of adventure games over the years and map that directly to the trajectory of MUDs to EverQuest to World of Warcraft and so
Yep.
forth. Like it's very, very similar.
Yeah, like it's almost it's a almost perfect. The only difference is that adventure games never had a single breakout hit. There were always breakout hits in pairs from different companies.
Yeah.
Because like King's Quest was matched by Maniac Mansion, if I'm getting my dates right.
Yeah, Quest around the same time.
Quest for Glory was before that, but Space Quest came after that, and Space Quest was an answer to like the weird funny stuff that LucasArts was doing.
Yeah, I feel like Space Quest and like Zack McCracken and Monkey Island were in the same space.
But yeah, adventure games sort of collapsed under their own weight.
Yeah.
And then we're starting to see this new adventure game, like they're coming back in weird ways.
Well, and the ones that are closest to being pure adventure games are more heavy on the interactive story element of it.
Yeah.
You know, like all the Telltale stuff, which is great. I think that works really well.
I mean, to some extent, I felt like Gone Home was very adventure gaming.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say.
I totally
falls right in that.
Yeah, Gone Home is one of the ones I was thinking of. It's like Gone Home hits all of the beats of a classic adventure game. The interface is different, but adventure games never cared about the interface, as you can tell by the Old Mine Road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, basically the problem with adventure games was the puzzles that got too silly and convoluted and weird. And one option is to basically just cut those out, you know, limit it to a few things where you need to make a choice, or, you know, put some things together that aren't like that are actually reasonably obvious, and let the story and the characters drive the whole thing.
Yeah.
The adventure games that drove me insane, mostly because there were a lot of obtuse puzzles, were the Gabriel Knight games. I loved them.
I feel like the puzzles
were also
in the first
insane.
One weren't that bad, but then
I mean, Gabriel Knight 3 gives us the cat mustache.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the third one was just stupid. But like, and maybe I need to go back and play the first one again to, you know, see if there are ones that are, you know, completely inobvious. But I feel like most of them made sense in the first game.
I never played any of the Gabriel Knight games or any of the Police Quest games for reasons that Ashgar will completely understand.
Oh.
They didn't have swords or magic in them.
Ah.
Gabriel Knight games
really
absolutely
good.
have magic in them. And there's at least one sword. Like, you're fighting werewolves in the second one.
And
the first one is all about voodoo.
It's fair. I didn't actually get very far into any of the Gabriel Knight games.
I really, really like the first one. Because
the problem with the first one that I had were like the thing that you had to do where you had to like voodoo drum in certain rhythms.
Oh yeah, you had to like listen in on the
annoying.
drums and figure out what meant what. And yeah,
that was the one that I remember the most. It just annoyed me. Like,
I mean, yeah, that one took a little bit of work. Like, but I feel like that was one where it wasn't ever unclear really what you were needing to do. It could have been a little less. They could have just let you, you know, figure it out and then be like, okay, you figured it out. You don't have to hit every beat all yourself.
Right. That was the annoying part. Was like actually having to do it yourself. Like, it would have been really cool if you had to try and listen like a couple different times, and then finally on time 3, your character magically understands what was said. But like, yeah, that was one that hung me up on that game. I mean, Police Quest was a really good game, but it was a vastly different game than a lot of the other titles on the market at the time.
I mean, it was a procedural. It was a procedural crime show before those were a thing.
Yeah,
like it was,
and it was also super serious. Like, this is a straight-faced as hell police drama.
Like, I remember not walking around the police car, checking the tires, and, you know, verifying everything before getting in the car, and that is, you know, breaking the written policies. You're supposed to check your car before you get in the car and drive off, and they will punish you for it because your car breaks down. You lose the game.
Yeah.
Like, the majority of the puzzles in the Police Quest games are...
Did you follow protocol?
Yeah. What are the rules of being a policeman, and can you follow them properly? By the time you get to 3, it gets a little bit more into, like, actual murder mystery, figuring out what's going on, but there's still a lot of, like, I mean, you're having to do traffic stops and stuff, and make sure you use your blinkers, things. And then they turned it into Police Quest SWAT. It was a completely different thing.
Full Throttle has a special place in my heart because, aforementioned, I only played adventure games that had magic or swords in them, or starships. For me, that was the other possibility.
And Full Throttle has none of that.
And Full Throttle has none of that. And on top of that, doesn't even have a main character that I would like, because I don't go in for the big, muscly, strong, not super smart protagonists are very much not my cup of tea. And so Full Throttle is the first game that I ever played convinced I wasn't going to like it. Like, I looked at it and was like, that does not look like a game that I would enjoy. And it definitely was. It is on this show, you have probably heard me go on and on about playing games you don't think you'll like.
Yeah.
And Full Throttle is the reason I have that.
Yeah, if I hadn't already been pretty plugged into graphical adventures and paying attention to what LucasArts was doing, I doubt I would have ever picked up Full Throttle. Like, it was very much the descriptions of it and the stuff they wrote in that newsletter.
I mean, all the things that Tam just said are basically reasons why I never played it in the first place. And in retrospect, I was wrong. Although, without being able to cheat my way through some of those action sequences, I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah.
I mean, I think part of it, too, is, back in the day, my willingness to deal with clunky interfaces was much higher than it is right now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that's because every interface was clunky.
Yep.
Good interfaces didn't exist.
Like, at the time this came out, I hadn't had a mouse all that long. So even just being able to use a mouse to play the game was amazing.
And there were a lot of games that, supported a mouse, but there was no way in hell I could free up enough available memory to play with a mouse and sound.
Space Quest 5. Space Quest 5, I had to play it from start to finish without a mouse because it needed so much conventional memory that my mouse driver would not fit.
Yeah, you couldn't load. Yep.
Master of Magic was that for me. I had to choose. Did I get sound or did I get a mouse?
I went the opposite direction where I played with a mouse but no sound, and never noticed because I didn't have speakers for my computer for years, and everything was text boxes, so it was just the thing, which was also a big point in Full Throttle's favor because it was the first computer game that I played that had sound, any sound, and it had really good sound.
Mm-hmm.
And shortly thereafter I played King's Quest 6 with full voice.
Yeah, and the voice acting on it is really good.
Yeah, it was really good. It was good enough that it really ruined me for voice acting in a lot of other games, High Command and Conquer.
Yeah.
Although I did enjoy going back and playing Carandia games with full sound later. My other computer games with sound, I played The Longest Journey also with sound I don't even remember when that came out, but middle school or high school or somewhere in there, and had my mom come in to ask me something right as I started talking to Burns Flipper.
Oh man.
Which was not great. That was not a great conversation to have immediately afterward. Because it was the first time I'd spoken to him, so I couldn't skip it. Because if I skipped it, I wouldn't get to see it. But yeah, no, it wasn't great.
I personally think this was a universally great pick, mostly because it was a really fun trip down memory lane, and it seems like it was also enjoyed by people who didn't play it back then too. So
that makes me happy.
So, what do we have on tap for the September game?
So I normally wouldn't pick a game like this, except I already know for sure everyone in the podcast already has it. many of you have already beaten it, but I haven't, and I should probably push myself to. So we're going to be talking about Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yay!
I need to finish that game in any case, so yeah.
I also need to finish that game.
Because this game seems like it deserves a spoilers open discussion.
I'm so
I think
happy
it
that we're
does.
doing this.
And like, if we just want to play it for the sake of seeing the story, I know they just literally patched in like an easy mode to the game, like last week, something like that. So
Yeah,
I don't know if you can change it in the middle of a gameplay session, because at this point, I really just want to see story.
I'm pretty sure you can.
You can change the other difficulties mid-play, so hopefully you can.
I haven't had too much trouble yet, but I don't know if I'm going to. Mostly, I have been a sneaky bastard in this game.
It pays
good
off.
option.
A decent part of my experience was getting my Monster Hunter on with the spear, because you swing slow, but there are some openings.
Man, I love the spear. It kind of annoys me that I haven't figured out a way to upgrade it, really.
You can get new ones, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't come across one yet.
There's not much you can do about it, but I don't know. I love the spear until I had better stealthy ranged options. But anyway, it sounds like there's a lot of enthusiasm for playing this game this month.
Yo.
Yeah.
Oh, any closing thoughts on Full Throttle before we wrap things up?
I wish they had remastered the action sequences.
Yeah, so do I.
Agreed. For as many games as I play that I realize I look back on with rose-tinted glasses, I'm really excited that one of them is still good. I was really expecting some like super cringeworthy stuff out of Full Throttle, given like the year it came out and the subject matter and so on, and like it wasn't better than I remember.
Yeah, that was another thing. Like that was a big thing for me. Is like I saw this game through late teen eyes originally, and now as an adult, like it still holds up, but it's also a different experience.
Yeah.
I am super hoping that someone in our listeners partook of all the sales and decided to play along with us, because I am definitely curious to hear other people's thoughts on Full Throttle and whether or not they played it originally or if they were fresh to it this time.
Yeah, let us know if you gave it a try.
Anyway, it was a really fun show, in part because memory lane and such. And next week we will start things back up with another normal show. And
next week is the end of the 4-Job Fiesta. If you haven't finished that, get on it.
And that officially ends 31st?
August 31st.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll see you next week, and hopefully enjoy the show. Good night.
Good night.
See ya.
Good
Good night.